Night Visitor. I work as a night porter at a small roadside hotel, a quiet place surrounded by woods. It only has 10 rooms and most nights there are just 2 or 3 guests. My shift starts at 10 p.m. and ends at dawn. I always thought it was an easy job, until that night. It was 3 a.m., the quietest hour. I was at the reception desk, scrolling through my phone, when I heard the doorbell ring. I was surprised because no one ever arrives at that hour, especially in such an isolated place. I glanced at the security monitor, but there was no one outside. I thought it might be a glitch in the system, so I ignored it. But a minute later, the bell rang again. This time, it was more insistent, as if someone was desperate to get in. Feeling uneasy, I got up and went to check. When I opened the door, there was no one there. The road was empty, and the only sound was the wind rustling through the trees. I went back to the reception desk, feeling slightly on edge. Before I could sit down, the lights began flickering. At first, I thought it was an electrical issue, but then a cold breeze swept through the room. It felt as if someone had opened a window, but all the windows were closed. I looked at the monitors again, and that's when I saw it. In the main hallway near the guest rooms, there was a figure, tall, motionless. Its silhouette was dark, almost like a human shadow, but I couldn't make out any details. My first instinct was to check it out. I grabbed my flashlight and walked toward the hallway, calling out, "Hello? Is anyone there?" When I got there, I found nothing. The hallway was empty, and all the room doors were still shut. But something caught my attention. On the floor, there were marks. They looked like wet footprints, as if someone had walked barefoot all the way to the end of the hall. I returned to the reception desk, but what I saw froze me in place. On the guest register, which I always leave open on the counter, a name had been written, Samuel H. The strange thing was, no one had arrived that night, and I certainly hadn't written it. The air felt heavier, like someone was watching me. I tried to calm myself, but then the lights went out completely. Everything was plunged into darkness. I turned on my flashlight, and just as it flickered on, I heard slow, deliberate footsteps, getting closer. The flashlight started to fail, flickering, but I managed to see something at the end of the corridor. It was that dark figure again, closer now. It didn't walk. It seemed to glide toward me. I ran to the office behind the reception desk and locked the door. The footsteps stopped right outside. My heart was pounding so hard I could barely hear anything else. Then came the knocking. Once, twice, slow and deliberate, as if it had all the time in the world. I didn't open the door. I stayed there until sunrise. When I finally gathered the courage to come out, there was no sign of anything. No footprints, no shadows, not even the name in the register. But that night made one thing clear. I wasn't alone. Since then, every time I hear the bell ring in the dead of night, I wonder if that visitor will come back. And if it does, I'm not sure I'll have the courage to stay.